Welcome back to our news bulletin. Indian forces have martyred 5 more civilians in occupied Kashmir. The occupation forces have martyred 9 civilians in the last 24 hours. The troops targeted the civilians during a coordinated search operation in the Kupwara district's Kiran area. The young civilians martyred yesterday were identified as Saddam Malik, Ejaz Ahmed Neku, Shahid Sadiq Malik and Waqar Ahmed. Indian forces have martyred 87 Kashmiris, including 3 women, during the ongoing 8-month-long siege of the valley. The troops have injured over 950 civilians using brute force, tear gas, shelling and torture since 5th August. The global COVID-19 death toll has now reached 64,784, while over 1.2 million people have been infected. The number of cases and death toll continues to surge in European countries as they struggle to contain the disease. More in this report.
COVID-19 pandemic has rendered governments and international institutions helpless as the global death toll continues to surge. France's death toll has reached a new record high as 441 more people died in the last 24 hours, raising the total to 7,560. Kuwait and Georgia have reported their first deaths from the new coronavirus disease. The hard-hit Italy have extended the lockdowns amid rising deaths, while Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Algeria have done the same. Experts suggest lockdown should go deeper and be stricter for social distancing to contain the spread of coronavirus.
You have to, as I just mentioned above, to keep distancing. So people inside the city, as I heard from some of the foreign countries, said, well, we locked down the city, and then inside the city, people, in particular young people, just join together, attending parties or some banquet or meeting. It doesn't work. It's not lockdown. So with lockdown, the concept would be going to the community setting.
Hospitals around the world have been overwhelmed by an influx of coronavirus patients. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has announced to extend the country's lockdown until April 25th, as it has started to show results. He asked people to show the same level of discipline as the daily death toll decreased in the country for 2 consecutive days.
The rise towards the peak of the virus has been cruel, and we can't lie to ourselves. The decrease is not going to be easy either. We can't afford to relax our attention on this instant. We have to keep going forward with the same discipline, the same solidarity, responsibility, and with the same tenacity.
China has reported 30 new coronavirus cases, including 5 locally transmitted infections. Meanwhile, the UN has warned the outbreak in Libya can be catastrophic for the internally displaced people and refugees in the war-torn country.
US President Donald Trump has warned the country could be headed into its toughest weeks yet as the COVID-19 death toll continues to mount. Trump warned a lot of people will lose their lives in the next couple of weeks. The state of New York has reported a record 630 COVID-19 related casualties in the past 24 hours, taking the country's death toll to over 8,400. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo praised China for facilitating a shipment of 1,000 ventilators. Meanwhile, the COVID-19-stricken cruise ship Coral Princess, which is carrying 2 dead passengers and 12 infected people, docked in Florida. During his daily briefing, Trump announced a 2,500-bed military-staffed field hospital at New York's HOUTHIS Convention Center.
This will be probably the toughest week between this week and next week, and there'll be a lot of death, unfortunately, but a lot less death than if this wasn't done, but there will be death. We're looking for an obvious focus in the hardest hit regions. Some of them are obvious and some aren't so obvious. They spring up.
Moving on to Pakistan, 170 COVID-19 patients have recovered so far in the country as it continues to fight the pandemic. The health ministry said 172 new confirmed cases were reported in the last 24 hours, bringing the total to over 2,800. All 4 provinces of the country have imposed a conditional lockdown to contain the spread of the virus. The health ministry has reported 45 deaths across the country. The ministry said 46% of infected people came back from Iran, 27% from other countries, and 27% were infected through local transmission. It said 1,163 infections are recorded in Punjab, 864 in Sindh, 317 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 180 in Balochistan, and 78 in the capital, Islamabad. Meanwhile, Islamabad has decided to open Torkham and Chaman borders for 4 days for exit of Afghans. In a statement, the Foreign Office said the step is being taken on special request of the Afghan government. In another news, in Afghanistan, security forces claim to have killed 8 Taliban fighters while thwarting an attack on its troops in central Afghanistan. But the Taliban say Afghan troops attacked a civilian population in Wardak province, killing a man and wounding a woman in their homes. Meanwhile, the government says it has arrested ISIS Khorasan leader Aslam Faruqi, who is responsible for the Sikh Gurdwara attack that claimed 27 lives. The NDS said 19 of Faruqi's accomplices have also been arrested from the southern province of Kandahar. It said among his 19 aides, 2 commanders, Qari Zahid and Saifullah, were also arrested during the operation. ISIS has recently claimed 2 deadly attacks in Afghanistan. U.S. Envoy for South Asia Alice Wells says an inclusive government in Afghanistan is a must for international aid. Earlier, Washington threatened to completely dry out aid to Kabul after cutting $1 billion due to the political deadlock between President Ashraf Ghani and rival Abdullah Abdullah. In a tweet, Wells said international aid requires partnership with an inclusive government in Kabul. She urged the international community to hold Afghan leaders accountable to agree on a governing arrangement. Meanwhile, leaders including former President Hamid Karzai have asked Ghani Abdullah to end their feud. The politicians asked Ghani to stop government appointments to reach to an understanding with the former chief executive. They also asked Abdullah to extend his deadline for reaching an agreement with the president. Turkish security forces say they have killed 7 PKK militants in northern Syria. In a statement, the defense ministry said 2 militants were targeted when they opened fire in the Operation Euphrates Shield area. It said 5 others were neutralized when they were attempting to infiltrate the Operation Peace Spring zone. Turkish authorities often use the word neutralized to imply the terrorists in question surrendered or were killed or captured. Ankara holds the PKK responsible for the deaths of some 40,000 people in a 30-year conflict. The Yemeni government says Houthi rebels have attacked an oil pipeline pumping station in Marib province. Saudi state-run media reported pipeline is operated by the Safer Oil Company, owned by the Yemeni government. Yemen's oil ministry said the attack shows criminal and catastrophic intent of Houthi rebels. The ministry said such incidents prove rebels want to destroy all economic gains of people of Yemen. It said these attacks will hinder foreign investment and return of international oil companies to the country. The ministry urged international community to help the Yemeni government in securing oil and gas facilities. Moving on, India has threatened doctors in occupied Kashmir with strict action for breaking the silence around inadequate medical facilities in the valley amid the COVID-19 outbreak. The 243-day-long clampdown has created a communication and health crisis in the valley, creating the ideal environment for an outbreak. In a notification, Delhi barred the doctors from speaking against the government in the press and social media. It said some of the government servants are criticizing New Delhi's efforts against the pandemic, which is against service conduct rules. The notification threatened violators with 6-month jail terms. Earlier, medics said the valley isn't equipped to tackle the deadly virus because of India's curfew and communications blackout. At a time when almost all countries are releasing prisoners over fears of a COVID-19 outbreak in jails, a Rajasthan High Court in India has refused to release Anti-Citizenship Act protesters. Police arrested the protesters who are currently being held in the Baran district jail last month. In its verdict, the High Court said releasing accused and convicted prisoners does not fall under the extremely urgent matter category. It said the release of accused persons threatens law and order during the nationwide lockdown as well as the lives of Indian citizens. It also said the court is on holiday because of the COVID-19 outbreak, hence all applications for bail and suspension of sentences are not being taken. The Indian government faced months-long demonstrations against the controversial law, killing 83 people across the country. Iran's health ministry has warned that capital Tehran may face coronavirus resurgence after many residents flouted advisories to stay home. People in Tehran crowded streets, causing traffic jams across the city as the country's New Year holidays ended yesterday. The ministry said government is still concerned about the virus due to level of traffic and queues of cars stuck on freeways. It said these people can take the virus to their homes or workplaces, causing a resurgence in cases in the area. The ministry said even a medium level of virus can spread to nearby cities with a high level of job-related traffic from the capital. Iran, among worst hit countries by the epidemic, has recorded over 3,400 deaths and more than 55,000 infections so far. Health authorities in several Middle Eastern countries have confirmed new cases of COVID-19 infection and related deaths. The UAE announced 241 new coronavirus cases and 1 new death, bringing total tallies to 1,505 and 10 respectively.
Saudi Arabia recorded 140 new cases of coronavirus infections and 4 new deaths, bringing the total infections to 2,179 and the total deaths to 29. The authorities announced a lockdown and a partial curfew in 7 neighborhoods of the Red Sea city of Jeddah. Lebanon has reported 12 new coronavirus cases, bringing the total to 520. Oman's health ministry has registered 25 new coronavirus cases, bringing the total to 277. Kuwait announced its first death from the coronavirus as the total number of infections reached 479. In Israel, the virus has killed 44 people with nearly 7,600 cases registered so far. Palestine has reported 11 new coronavirus cases, taking the total number to 205.
Turkey has confirmed that 76 more people died from the coronavirus in the country over the past 24 hours, bringing the death toll to 501. The health minister said the total number of cases surged to over 23,900 as 3,013 more people tested positive. He said so far a total of 786 patients have recovered and been discharged from hospitals. The minister said nearly 1,300 are currently under intensive care units. Yesterday, Turkey imposed a partial curfew for citizens under the age of 20 as part of measures against the coronavirus outbreak. Ankara also decided to shut down borders of 31 cities for vehicles, excluding essential supplies. We have a lot more coming up right after this short break, so stay tuned. Malaysian Coast Guards have intercepted a boat ferrying a group of over 200 people believed to be ethnic Rohingya. In a statement, a Malaysian maritime agency said the boat was found adrift around 1 nautical mile off Langkawi Island. The group also included women and children who have been detained at the Coast Guard's Kedah State headquarters. The agency said the group will be handed over to immigration authorities for trying to enter the country illegally. It said it will also investigate their complaints about 3 alleged members of a migrant smuggling syndicate who fled the boat. In February, 15 Rohingya refugees died when a vessel carrying nearly 130 people capsized in the Bay of Bengal while trying to reach Malaysia. Bulletin. This is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.